ESO Daily. I'm your host, Mysticraven. All right. So, throughout my day, I have to do things. So, a lot of times I'm not consistent. But it was crazy because a friend of mine was just like, we're supposed to be doing something later on. And he's like, well, why don't you go do, like, your thing and we'll hook up because they have a thing on Game of Thrones, and I'm like, man, what's up, man? What's your vice, man? Is that your vice? You're like, you're. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not cutting on Game of Thrones fans. Hell no, I'm not doing that. Just don't get me twisted. But it brings up a good question, man. Like, Elder Scrolls here is my vice, right? It's kind of what I do to unwind. I think we all have our vices in life. And for my old lady, she loves those little mini phone games, right? And reality shows like Big Brother. Not to say that I didn't like Big Brother. I kind of like the crazy like strategy shit that goes on with Big Brother. It's kind of twisted. It's fucked up, to be honest with you, but it's life. People have their own hidden agendas and backstabbing motives and shit. So cool deal, whatever. But she has a vice, and my friend was like, "Oh yeah, we can do this in a little bit because we all there's something we all enjoy." And for me, it's ESO. Like, somebody was like, "Well, don't you watch television?" No, I don't like television. I'll read some books if I'm interested, depending. I haven't read a good book in a long time. I do write, so I'm a writer. Whatever. But I think our vices is kind of like, they're different from hobbies, man. So somebody was like, is it your hobby? Well, yeah, it is. I'm going to do this daily real quick too. So it is my hobby, but it's also my vice, man. Like, I really, really think we all have, like, I want to hear from a lot of people. Do you think Elder Scrolls is your vice? Is it something that you cling to? Is it something that you find it is an addiction? Does it become an addiction? I don't know. It's crazy. I just was like, wow, you know what? I probably... One second. Okay, so, but, like, throughout my day, whatever I don't got going on, I jump on here. A lot of different things I got to do throughout my day, depending on circumstances, but honestly, man, one of the major things, like, I don't watch television. I don't get on and watch TV, and I don't... I used to have hobbies. I used to play Magic the Gathering. At one time, I was so into Magic the Gathering. I actually was even the tester for the Magic Online. When they started developing that, I actually got picked to do that. It was pretty fucking cool. It wasn't an MMO. It wasn't a real MMO, but it had, multiple... multiplayer capabilities, and I was a huge Magic the Gathering fan. I did tournaments. I loved Magic the Gathering. And, I really enjoyed it. Now, I didn't play Worlds, man. Don't get me twisted. I did, like, all kind of local tournaments, a couple of the bigger ones, a couple big ones, but nothing like Worlds. Which, that's crazy. Some of it gets crazy. I did really well in Magic, though. So, but yeah, that was a vice of mine for a long time. I picked it up. It was like, a hobby to me is something you start off with, but then it progressively turns into, something a little more, something we have to, see ourselves being a part of. We become almost obsessive to it, right? To a degree. And to me, I think it can become unhealthy. Anything in life can become unhealthy, right? You know, it's the old saying, you can have too much of a good thing. For me, though, like somebody had asked, oh, that's so awesome, like, you know, you're a YouTuber for Elder Scrolls. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And someone's like, well, you know, it seems like it'd be fun and everything else. I'm like, you know, the sad fact of it is I used to have more fun when I didn't do this, right? I'm not saying I don't have fun anymore, but it becomes so, you become so attached, so whatever, you start, you know, not enjoying it as much as you once did. And I think that's the one thing that you have to actually ask yourself in life. Like when Deltia left, a lot of people were upset. And despite me and Deltia's indifferences, I have respect for the man because what he's put into the community, right? But he made a personal call. He wasn't happy anymore, right? He was a great gamer. Matter of fact, some of his tutorials to this day are still going to be viable months from now, right? So I'm always going to tell people, man, you know, you can still get something out from Deltia's channel, you know, because some of his tutorials and walkthroughs, just classic, man. And they still will be in this game for years to come. And for me personally, I'm not a harbinger of misfortune, right? I honestly don't hold grudges, regardless of confrontations. And I've had to have that mentality, right? Because there was times like I'd go in a tournament and I'd have to fight somebody, didn't really know him, or I may know him. I can't let, you know, despite if I have a confrontation with this person and I have to fight him, right? And I've had to go toe-to-toe with people that I liked, you know? It made no difference. At the end of the day, it wasn't about whether or not I liked you. It wasn't personal. I got 3 rounds, man. I got to knock you out, bro. I got to do what I can, you know? And at the end of the day, as long as you have respect for each other and you show that, it's whatever. But when we become obsessive, we take hobbies like this and they become vices. You know, it becomes something we absolutely feel like we need, and we have to, we can't go without. And some people it's work even. You know, I know people who can't function without excessive working. They're workaholics, you know? So I think we all have our vices. The question of it is, you know, when does it become unhealthy? And I think that's, you know, mental reflection, right? Like, for me, if I was to ignore my responsibilities for my kids and be neglectful and not take into consideration my responsibilities, this could be very unhealthy, right? It could become very unhealthy. And you have to, you know, prioritize. So even if we have all vices, even if we have our vices, we have to keep perspective on our obligations. And that's one thing I really appreciate about Deltia. He's a military man. He's a father. I respect the man on those 2 principles alone. He was a great gamer. Great gamer, you know. He really did offer a lot to the community. A couple of things I never agreed on, and I spoke a little bit more blunt than maybe I should have, but didn't mean I didn't respect him. And I always tell people that just because I call you out on shit doesn't mean I respect you. Don't respect you. Question of it is, are you taking it personal? You know, are you going to take it personal? I don't get personal, you know. I don't mention people's shit. I'm a great shit talker, believe it. You know, I have to be. You almost have to be a shit talker to a degree. But like Cyrodiil, man, like honestly, I PvP probably a quarter less than what some of these players do. Probably even half, actually. And there are certain players that I know by name in Cyrodiil. They know me, believe it. And I can't, some of them, they're going to always beat me. They know their class inside and out. They're really good at it. And I don't, regardless of the teabagging, regardless of anything, I have a respect for them. I'll laugh actually sometimes, because sometimes I'll get them, you know, on a fluke chance, and then there's some players who think they're really good, and man, they're really not. I'm okay. Once again, I never say I'm the best at anything. I'm sufficient. I'm sufficient enough to do what I need to do to make the difference. But some of these guys, man, they put in the work. I mean, they're in there day in and day out, and I'm like, how in the fuck? I mean, do you do anything else in the game? I mean, do you just get your sets and then get the fuck out in the PvP? I mean, some people, that's their thing. Like, I split my time. So, I'm on 2 different platforms. I have 16 characters. I got to devote X amount of time on each one. I've got to unlock passives. Hell, I'm still working on passives from other tunes that I have up there, but I still need to get some of their shit unlocked, right? Because I got too much going on. And these guys, man, they get in there and they're just ripping shit. You know, there's certain characters, I'll have 1 or 2, and then there's dedicated PvPers. They know that rule so damn good. I mean, dude, I've had a couple people on the brink of death, and they just come back and fuck me up at the last minute, at the clutch moment, and you're like, fuck! You're screaming, you're like, no! No! Because they're good. You know, they could pull out the clutch win, man. They're good. And are you going to hate on that? You know, that's their Vise, PvP. It's the same game, but it's a different aspect. That's what draws them. That's what they're fixated on, right? So once again, man, you know, sometimes, you know, we can't. I always tell people, I think sometimes vices can be a good thing, depending how well you take it, because it makes you proficient at what you do, right? Like me, healing. Like, that's probably why I'm still known in this game for a lot of my healing builds and my healing advice or whatever. I started off as a healer in this game, and I just started doing more and more healing. I kept, like, when I did the DK, I was obsessed. It became obsessive for me because people were like, "Oh my God, DKs can't fucking heal." And what's her name? Ilola or something like that. She was like one of the first DK healers on Tube, and I watched her after I made my DK. I already made it, but I was kind of interested in seeing how many people did it prior, and this woman was so good at it. She you know, she was so good, and it was inspiring, really. But I was obsessive, you know. I wanted to keep proving to players, what can you do, what you can do. And I think there for a moment my Vice became unhealthy, you know, and I think sometimes it still does. You know, you have to watch out how things can become addictive. It's not, an addiction isn't necessarily dependent. You're like chemical addiction. Your body needs that. Well, the mind kind of works in the same way, you know, when it comes to things like this. You know, sometimes we take something that it's supposed to be recreational, right? And we feel like we have to do it. It has to happen. Well, we can't imagine not doing it, you know. And I think in life, a lot of people was like, well, it's unhealthy that you play these games. I'm like, well, why? Because, you know, besides me writing, whatever, why would it be unhealthy? People go to work and they work in front of a computer for hours. There's people who develop these games. Oh, hello. I don't know if I'll get it. Oh, bullshit! Bullshit! That last lock. Good job, dude. Okay. But anyways, I'm like, there's people who literally, you know, do like drinking. We have alcoholics all the time. But if you drink casually, it's okay. But for example, if you drink casually, right, you're a casual drinker, it's not a bad thing, right? But if you abuse it, well, now you have an addiction. And once again, is a vice considered an addiction? I don't necessarily think so. I just think sometimes we can let things kind of start taking over who we are and what we do. Or sometimes what we do is really a reflection of who we are. So, but at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself and ask, you know, hey, what's my vice? You know, what things am I mean, it's not about becoming unhealthy or not. That's your decision. That's going to be your personal call, how it reflects your life and the things that, you know. But I always tell people, like, people are like, oh, MMOs are bad. I'm like, MMOs aren't bad. MMOs are actually pretty good. It's a way of, like, you know, it's a coping mechanism in a lot of ways. But you know, it's a way to relieve stress, you know, to let your hair down and enjoy the time that you want without having to worry about other things in the real world that you have to deal with on a daily basis. But then all of a sudden we get people who become more fixated. Yeah, we need to get this boss here. No, now they just paid attention. I don't know what happened there. Everything was good. I think she just got too close to the spin cycle. No. Getting these keys, guys. Getting these keys. Boy, this tank is killer. Yep, there's a spin cycle. Go, go, go. Shit, she got quartered. Damn it! Back was against the wall, man. Ah, we got it. I'm not getting close to that thing. That thing could take your head off pretty quick. What we get? Training. Fuck that. Whoa! Hello. Thank you. Yes, please. Come again. Alright, guys. But, yeah, anytime in life, man, just, you know, take a look at the vices of your life, you know? What keeps you attached? Remember, you know, a vice is something that holds you, right? So, and I honestly think in life we all have something that we can call our vice. No, nobody's without something that's a vice. This can be anything, but a vice isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when it restricts you, holding's one thing, but when it starts restricting you, is when you need to let yourself, you know, relieve some of that pressure. You know, don't let the vice, you know, restrict you. It's okay to be held by something, but don't let it restrict your capabilities of what you want to accomplish. You know, much like life, this in this game and much in life, you have to set goals. You know, it's kind of crazy. I set goals in this game. In life, I'm kind of at an age where things kind of go. You know, it's kind of routine. You know how things, you know, are current, but when you want to change something and you want to, you know, accomplish something, you have to set those goals. And a vice can be a good thing to give you stability, but at the same time, a vice can also hold you back. So, just perspective, man. So ask yourself, you know, is my vice restricting me? Or is my vice, you know, giving me stability? Can go either way, boys and girls. And I always hope and I pray for all of you guys. You guys are much appreciated by me. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, comments, post below. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.